Next up, we have Sue Graham-Taylor. Sue's a PhD in history from Murdoch University. She works as a historian and researcher. Sue was employed by the Western Australia Museum from 2000 to late 2007, when she was awarded the State Library's Batty Fellowship to research the history of the Swan River. She has published books and articles on aspects of Western Australian history and politics. As a history curator, Sue is now working on a range of projects both for the WA Museum and for Claremont Museum. Welcome, Sue.
Thanks, Susan. My viewpoint will be more from a heritage point of view, and this shows the typical view that we see of Perth. You know, the Swan River lies at the heart of Perth. It was the reason for the establishment of the Swan River colony, and photographers and artists alike have depicted Perth from this spot since the earliest days of settlement. And writers have described the beauty and charms, and this view has given us our sense of place. And the future, and we've just seen that picture of the white buildings, and the catch cry of this project is the city, the river, together again. Few people have actually described the reality of everyday life for the early colonists. Perth was located on a sandy slope bordered by shallow, muddy, very smelly waters to the south, and hemmed in by a string of shallow lakes to the north. The area in front of Perth was used for transport, and it wasn't long before colonists complained about the lack of any space where they could undertake recreation. In 1863, the West Australian called for a recreation ground to fill in the space between the two jetties and protect the embankment by a river wall. They suggested that it was perhaps the only colony that didn't have any piece of ground suitable for recreation. And so the colonists got together and agreed that they could solve the problem by reclaiming the area between the Barrack and William Street jetties. In 1867, at huge expense, I think it was about the state budget, £3,000, they imported this dredge from the UK, the Black Swan. It wasn't very suitable and it didn't work, but it started digging up, and the fill that they weren't able to dredge in the river because its buckets were in the centre and it was too shallow. So they had to start digging, and they were putting ash and all sorts of things were put in as fill. So you can see the development there taking place. By 1896, that was the state of the development. And the call for then was for a recreation ground to encourage manly pursuits. And exercise does much to counteract vicious habits and propensities. So the land was handed to the Perth City Council by deed of grant in 1880 from the Governor. He said it was for the free recreation and enjoyment of the people forever. It was named the Esplanade Recreation Ground in 1885. And you can see there that it really wasn't very well developed at that stage, 1885. You can see there's more development there. The city baths in front attracted a lot of people. The recreation ground, the Esplanade, so this piece of land has been used since 1880 for all sorts of community functions. Every governor who arrived here. Governors were farewelled, troops met before they went to war, they were welcomed home, there were unemployment rallies, secession rallies, responsible government was declared there, not to mention every Anzac Day since 1916, except for yesterday. 1905, they did some more improvement, and it's interesting to see there, they wanted a straight line all around the river. and it actually was the Supreme Court judge who campaigned against this straight line. The argument was that nature had been a bit messy and they had to improve and fix up what was there. And Barrack Square, 1905. The Esplanade Reserve also houses the 1928 kiosk. These are just some of the things that have been held on the reserve. The Esplanade Reserve holds the kiosk, change rooms and toilets that were built to replace an earlier facility. Then there's the Florence Hummerston building as well, which is now a Chinese restaurant. And these important heritage listed buildings will be dismantled. The bricks are going to be numbered of the restaurant, and then it will be stored until they can find somewhere to actually put it. They found that it didn't actually fit in Supreme Court Gardens where it was proposed to go. So it will lose its connection with the site and its heritage significance. You can see America's Cup Welcome, 1983. There have been some huge, very important functions there. With the construction of Riverside Drive from 1937, Perth lost all its warehouses, its administrative buildings, its boat building facilities, its customs facilities, and its markets. This was once a very vibrant area of Perth, and it's now covered with the bus port, the convention centre, the freeway interchange, and more recently with the construction of the underground railway station that ensured the disappearance of the last remnants of the jetty structures. The Esplanade Reserve is really all that we have left in terms of Perth's early waterfront heritage. Can we afford to lose it? The waterfront project will destroy the reserve to create an inlet, and the banks will be sold to private developers. This has been in community hands since the earliest days. It was demanded by the community and even paid for by the community. And you can see there what happened when Riverside Drive went through and destroyed the last remnants of the waterfront heritage. So this proposal doesn't actually recognise the land that it's seeking to develop. Every vestige of heritage value will be eradicated, while the control of the land, this important now heritage listed place, is passed to private developers. Perth has actually got a history of destroying heritage. The Esplanade Reserve is a remainder and a reminder of our city's past. It served the needs of the first settlers and those of succeeding generations. The heritage status of the Esplanade should really be at the heart of any development. There's no denying that something needs to be done to link the city and the river, but really we need to ensure that future generations are proud of what we have and how we've kept our sense of place while we're developing our future. I think we can probably talk about afterwards some of the environmental impacts that will come as a result of the dredging, because we know what's under the land, and we know that it will have significant impacts. But I'll leave it there.
Thank you, Sue. I think that those pictures were really interesting. When else will we get a chance to see those? I don't know. So thank you very much for sharing those with us. Our last speaker tonight is Mike Bamford. He's been working as a consultant since the mid-1980s, specializing in fauna investigations for environmental